It is the last true homologation special from Japan. Just let that sink in. Usually when Yamaha releases a new model, it would use literally any excuse to bring some heritage thing into its marketing, sometimes even for a paint scheme of all things. It's basically the motorbike equivalent of a vegan, always making sure you know they're vegan. And I don't blame Yamaha, marketing is marketing. So you can imagine my disappointment when they brought this brand new R7 and completely dismissed its history and heritage, as if it never existed. Why are they hiding it from you? Let's see what the fuss is all about and do the most exclusive Yamaha of all time justice. Some context, the 90s. A beautiful decade of three things. Wondering if Ross and Rachel were ever going to get back together, of wondering which Spice Girl you'd like to do un-Catholic things to, and finally, the decade of this, which, by the way, Mum, is not just like a Game Boy, but most importantly, the decade of World Superbike with legendary fights between absolute heroes of the era, but usually only one winner. Mother-ducking Ducati. Back then, if you had a V-twin like Ducati, you could compete with a 1000cc engine, much bigger than your rivals on 4 cylinders, i.e. everyone else, which were allowed only 750cc. And well, Ducati took that and absolutely ran away with it. The 916-based racers were given an absolute spunkage to any Honda RC45 or puny Yamaha YZF 750 that dared challenge the throne. So much so, in fact, that World Superbike was often nicknamed the Ducati Cup. And well, whenever you're in a situation like that, people often deal with it in different ways. You either go fuck it, if you can't beat them, join them, and release the most Ducati Honda ever, the V-twinned Honda SB1, or if you're Yamaha, well, you throw the kitchen sink at the problem and go balls out. See, the main difference between World Superbike and MotoGP is that World Superbike requires manufacturers to only race motorcycles even a schmuck like me can go out there and buy. As long as a manufacturer makes more than 500 units of that model for sale, it is what's called homologated. Yamaha was making the aging YZF 750 SP, a decent bike but in vicious company. And despite the absolutely legendary Norihaga defying physics and grabbing a few podiums with it, the YZF 750 SP was too long in the tooth. I mean, you could give Armstrong a bicycle with square wheels, it's not going to be breaking any Tour de France records. Thing is, in '98, Yamaha was leading a major assault on the superbike market. The first R1 in '98 sent shockwaves in the liter bike class, and the R6 in '99 was breaking horsepower records in the 600 class. But you can't lead a successful sales assault with brand spanking new models while at the same time be seen racing an old clunker from '93 on the world stage. I mean, the spectators are literally your prospective buyers. So what do you do when you can only race a 750cc, but you're not interested in mass producing one? You make the bare minimum 500 units and not a single one more. The result is the ultra exclusive Yamaha R7, factory designated OW02. The signs of a take no prisoner approach were all over the place. Forged aluminium short skirt pistons run in titanium H-beam conrods, titanium valves, stacked cassette gearbox with close ratio and a slipper clutch, fuel injection when the R1 and R6 were still on carbies. Yamaha was still in the 5 valves, no mum, it's not just a phase. So of course the R7 also had 5 valves per cylinder. Endurance style fuel opening, which never failed to make my boxes feel just that little bit tighter. Swedish gold suspending the very adjustable Delta Box 2 frame unanimously agreed to be absolutely flawless, twice as torsionally stiff as even the R1's frame. A dash that doesn't even bother telling you what RPMs you're at if you're under 4,000. The result of all this is a hyper-focused homologation special making 140 to 160 horsepower in racing form and only weighs 2/5 of f***all. The looks, stunning. There's something about halogen lights on bikes that tickles my schwanz. The proportions, perfect. This is hands down the Japanese 916 in my book, and is absolutely how the original R1 should have looked like. Yes, I said it. But perhaps the one thing that betrays this bike as a purpose-built one-off is the absolute and complete disregard for the road spec horsepower figure at only 100 horsepower, which when you're forking out the equivalent of 3 times the price of an R1, must be painful. God damn it! Yamaha seemingly didn't care one bit. It knew whoever bought it was going to buy the race kit anyway, which unlocks the power to 140, 160 to race it. So why waste time engineering it to pass regulation worldwide when you can just neuter it to 100 horsepower and move on to more important things? Speed was of the essence. Any season they miss, their opponents are getting stronger. So the official Yamaha team enters the brand spanking new OW02 in the 1999 season. With a young, eager to prove himself 24-year-old Norihaga, Nitro Nori, the samurai of slide. Only there was one problem. The R7 had this teensy little problem where it wasn't winning races, but what it was doing is eating crankshafts.
damn it!
The 2000 season was a completely different story. A one-man team with full Yamaha factory support. Norihaga fought all season long for the top spot with Colin Edwards, riding a Honda SP1, a 250cc bigger engine.
Aga alla sax, si toccano quasi, chiude il gas, passa all'interno, Noriyuki Aga, incredibile, sorpasso.
Nori was on track for the fabled win, Yamaha's first ever, only disaster. A higher concentration than allowed of ephedrine was found in his blood, which unbeknown to him was included in Ma Huang, a weight loss supplement he had before the start of the season. This took a podium win away from him in South Africa and prevented him from participating in the final 2 Brands Hatch rounds, preventing him from winning the entire championship by only a few points.
God damn it!
This was devastating news not only to him, but also to Yamaha, who stopped their involvement in World Superbike and sent Norihaga to their MotoGP machine instead. Yamaha never had much luck with World Superbike. Their initial homologation special, the OW01, raced 3 years but never claimed the championship. The OW02 didn't manage to buck the trend as fast as Yamaha wanted, so just like your dad, it went for a pack of smokes and never came back. No one cares about second place. The R7 entered the collective minds as just a bike that cost 3 times the price of an R1, barely gave the power of an R6, and was expensive to maintain. And yet, good luck finding a cheap R7 back then, and especially now. Of the 500 made, only 50 went to the US, for example. Most were raced and crashed by race teams, and the rest made it to showrooms, or people who stepped back from the hive mind thinking and truly saw how special they really were, and never meant for mass production, spiritual successor to the OW01, with the O2 fighting for the 4-cylinder honor in an era of V-twin dominance from the Honda SP1 and Ducati 996. It didn't go empty-handed, winning the 2000 Bordeaux endurance race, breaking Suzuki's stronghold there, but that wasn't what it was set to do. But for a brief, beautiful moment, the Yamaha R family was complete.
The Yamaha YZF-R series. No compromise.
Was I ever bothered by its anemic power? A little bit, but then nothing can be worse than the 2016 Honda RC 213 VS, touted as a MotoGP with mirrors, launching in the US with 100 horsepower. Nothing is worse than that. And I've done Vietnam. Just like the late 90s, early 2000s with the obsession with V-twins, we're going through a similar phase currently with another type of twins, parallel twins. And that is why Yamaha, egged on by the rowdy Aprilia RS660, released a new R7 in 2022. A bike I think is the right bike at the right time at the right price. On paper, it looks inferior in every single measurable way to the venerable R6 it's supposed to be slotting on top, and the R7 OW02 it's supposed to succeed. The R6 could rev to heaven and back. The R7 can't. The R6 makes 117 horsepower, the new R7 makes 73. But if you're making comparisons like these, then you're completely missing the point. The Fun Police effectively killed 4-cylinder screamers, or made them incredibly expensive for a young rider. Yamaha understands that, so instead, they designed a sports bike that, unlike the R6, or OW02, wasn't designed to conquer the racetracks, but instead was designed to conquer sales, putting more sports bikes back on the road like the 2000s. The CP2 engine is a little powerhouse with more displacement and torque than the R6, and way bigger pistons than the OW02 or the R6. So sure, you're not revving to 15,000 RPM, but you are being catapulted out of corners where torque is king. The weight, 187 kilos. The footprint, smaller than the R3. Adjustable suspension. And because this is all based on the MT-07, parts, fuel, insurance are all likely to be semi-affordable. And all this sporting package only for $1,000 more over the standard MT-07. I mean, sure, the Yamaha headlight styling is peculiar recently, but the 60th anniversary paint scheme absolutely makes up for it. Holy crap. So, the gold wing-sized elephant in the room. Why call it the R7 when you had no intention of calling back to the heritage behind the name? Is Yamaha ashamed of the perceived failure of the OW02? Do they think people won't care anyway? What I do know is they could have called it the Yamaha MT-07R or perhaps the R07 and still made the impact they wanted to make. The original R7 OW02, whether Yamaha likes it or not, was an incredibly special machine. From a time when manufacturers had more money than sense and went to extreme lengths to have a sniff at glory. It is the last true homologation special from Japan. Just let that sink in. Made from the ground up, not fitting some O-lings to the production bike and calling it homologation special. It is hard to believe in today's rampant corporate penny pinching that there was a time when Honda, Yamaha just wrote blank checks. Make no mistake, the R7 is the R390 GT1 of the bike world. Consider yourself very lucky if you even see one, let alone own one. Thank you for supporting this channel.